Hi everyone, this is Crystal Gaswick. This is my Module 6 summary over Chapter 6. In the article, superintendents talk about the value of school communication. First, to summarize Chapter 6, the communication process. It discussed 5 elements of communication. First being the source, which is essentially the human brain. It combines concepts to create the ideas. The encoder, all types of body language affects communications. The receiver must have a high understanding and understand universal symbols that are used in order to receive the message. The channel, whether used oral or written communication, need to know which one is easily accessible to the public. The decoder, education and language. First, it must be equal to yours, and it must pique their interest in the first place, or else the information won't be very attractive or relevant to them. The receiver, they make the decisions from that information based off of feedback. Next was the presentation of issues, one-sided versus two-sided information. If you're going to use one-sided information, it's probably best to use it to a population that is easily influenced because of their lower education or because they are poorly informed prior to receiving the presentation. You probably wouldn't want to use it when the population already has a high understanding of that issue because they might feel talked down to. You would use two-sided information when they have a higher level of education, they're already informed, and they want to hear both sides of the topic. You want to remember to repeat messages as often as possible using all sorts of different types of media. Have an understanding of words, how they all have very, very different meanings to different people. And pronunciations or combinations of words can mean two different things. Crisis communication can reduce the severity of a crisis and gain trust or credibility within the community. Referring to the article, superintendents talk about the value of school communication. The first one was about Lois Gray. I was very impressed by her visibility in the district. She was obviously very visible in the district, and she gave the staff credit and recognition. The best quote by her was, "It's our school, not my school." This is a collaboration working at its best, in my opinion. The second one was Harold Braithwaite, if I'm announcing that correctly. He was very aggressive, open, and honest with communication, and was the first to address issues, saying that we are not perfect, but here's what we're going to do to correct it. Dr. Curtis Cole was the next superintendent, and he communicated clearly in a very straightforward manner, and he pushed for understanding within the community. For example, the bond issue that most likely passed because they didn't create a lot of awareness and understanding in the community about what that bond would be fixing within the school district. Winston Brooks he took a very different approach, but something that was very effective. He addressed it as if he was promoting his business, marketing his business. He promoted always know what was going on within the district and be responsive to the media. In summary, they conducted a study that said most superintendents know that communication is vital, but they don't feel properly trained, and it's very important that stakeholders feel informed and heard. They recognize this, but don't always know how to achieve this. Some terms that were used when asked how effective communication helps accomplish district missions. They used advocacy, support, buy-in, trust, and community. There were a bunch of things that stood out to me. First, with reading Chapter 6, the different ways, most effective ways to present ideas seems, very basic, but I never really thought about one-sided versus two-sided before, so that really stood out to me. The superintendent, Lois Gray, her emphasis on community effort, collaboration at its best, and Harold's forth being willing to acknowledge imperfections and address the issues was what really stood out from him. Dr. Curtis Colwell, he is very clear and straightforward about issues. Winston Brooks marketed school like a business, which is obviously a very different approach, but something that worked for him in his district. In the summary, that superintendents know what PR should look like, but they don't always know how to achieve it. I saw 3 standards that were being evidently followed, and the indicators that were evident towards them following that. Standard 3, willing to take risks to improve the school, and being willing to trust people in their judgments. Standard 4, they were highly visible, and they're effective in communicating with the larger community. Standard 6, maintain open dialogue with stakeholders and assess how effectively communicating with the school community. In summary, this is extremely educational in looking deeper into communication and how to properly communicate, which is something I probably have not done throughout this, as I have a horrible cold and I'm not talking very well right now. But this is a very intriguing chapter to me.